If love is the most sacred force we know, why does society still label some loves as wrong, dangerous, or sinful? From religion to culture to law, the boundaries around love reveal far more about fear and power than about love itself. This video asks the questions many avoid and may challenge how you see love, freedom, and morality in today's world. Welcome to Axis of Curiosity, where we explore life's deepest questions and challenge the boundaries set by culture, religion, and society. Today, we're diving into a powerful topic. If love is sacred, why are some loves forbidden? Together, we'll uncover how history, faith, and modern values shape the way we understand love and freedom. If you enjoy thought-provoking conversations like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who love exploring new perspectives. In American culture, love is often elevated beyond emotion into something almost sacred, a force people describe as both deeply personal and universally human. Psychologists note that love functions as a core psychological need, providing security, identity, and meaning. Abraham Maslow placed love and belonging at the center of his hierarchy, suggesting that without it, human flourishing is incomplete. This sense of love as fundamental has also been reinforced through religious traditions, where love is portrayed as a divine gift, a reflection of God's nature, and the ultimate moral compass. From the Christian teaching of God is love, to the secular idea that every person deserves to love freely, it becomes woven into the American story as both spiritual truth and civic right. Modern society further amplifies this by celebrating love in movies, literature, and public policy, where marriage equality and freedom of choice are framed as extensions of love's sacredness. For many Americans, to deny or restrict love is to deny something essential to human dignity, which sets the stage for questioning why certain loves are still marked as forbidden. Throughout American history, the question of who gets to decide which loves are acceptable has been shaped by overlapping forces of religion, culture, and law. For centuries, religious authorities often held the strongest influence, framing certain relationships as sinful or unnatural and setting moral boundaries that spilled into public life. Cultural norms reinforced these views, creating unwritten rules about who could marry whom, whether across race, class, or gender. Legal systems then institutionalized these restrictions, as seen in the bans on interracial marriage before loving v. Virginia in 1967 or the criminalization of same-sex relationships until recent decades. Sociologists argued that these boundaries were less about love itself and more about maintaining social order, protecting traditions, and preserving existing power structures. Yet the persistence of these rules reveals a deeper struggle, whether love belongs to the private realm of individual choice or remains subject to collective moral judgment. In today's America, as debates continue over LGBTQ+ rights, gender roles, and religious freedom, the tension between personal love and societal boundaries remains as alive as ever. The history of forbidden love in America reveals how powerful institutions once sought to control the most intimate aspects of human connection. Interracial marriage, for example, was banned in many states until the landmark Loving v. Virginia case in 1967, where the Supreme Court struck down anti-miscegenation laws that treated love across racial lines as a crime. Same-sex relationships face similar resistance, often branded as immoral or illegal, with sodomy laws criminalizing them well into the late 20th century until decisions like Lawrence v. Texas in 2003 began to dismantle those restrictions. Beyond race and sexuality, social class and religion also shaped boundaries. Catholic Protestant unions were once frowned upon, and families discouraged marriages that crossed economic or cultural divides. These prohibitions were never only about morality. They reflected fears of disrupting social hierarchies, challenging religious dogma, or threatening established identities. Yet, as cultural attitudes shifted and legal protections expanded, what was once forbidden slowly became recognized as legitimate expressions of love. This evolving history shows how boundaries around intimacy often reveal more about society's anxieties than about love itself. Religion has long acted as both a guardian and a gatekeeper of love, shaping the boundaries of what society celebrates and what it condemns. In America, churches historically framed marriage as a sacred covenant, defined by specific gender roles, often reinforcing the belief that only heterosexual, monogamous unions were acceptable before God. Doctrines declared some relationships holy while labeling others sinful, creating moral categories that extended far beyond the walls of the church into laws and cultural norms. Religious leaders argued that preserving these boundaries protected not only spiritual purity, but also the social order, making faith and morality inseparable in public imagination. Even today, many debates over same-sex marriage, gender identity, and reproductive rights carry theological undertones, with different denominations offering conflicting interpretations of Scripture. While progressive faith communities emphasize inclusivity and reinterpretation, conservative traditions continue to guard long-standing prohibitions. The result is a landscape where religion remains a powerful force, sometimes liberating, sometimes restricting, shaping how Americans negotiate the tension between divine commandments and the evolving understanding of love as a human right. American culture has been reshaped by waves of resistance against the idea that love should be confined by rigid boundaries. The civil rights movement challenged racist laws that once made interracial marriage illegal, arguing that love could not be restricted by skin color. Decades later, LGBTQ activists took up a similar struggle, demanding that same-sex love be recognized not as deviance, but as a legitimate form of human connection, culminating in marriage equality. Becoming the law of the land in 2015, feminist voices further broadened the fight, questioning patriarchal norms that treated women as passive participants in relationships and insisting that love must include equality, consent, and choice. Each of these movements forced American society to confront the gap between its ideals of freedom and its practices of exclusion. Cultural icons, literature, and even pop music reinforced this transformation by celebrating relationships once deemed unacceptable. Over time, the persistence of these voices turned what was once forbidden into something that could be honored, revealing how deeply love's legitimacy depends on the courage of those willing to challenge the status quo. In today's America, the debate over love often unfolds as a struggle between freedom and tradition. For many, love is viewed as an extension of personal liberty, the right to choose one's partner without interference from church, state, or community. This perspective sees restrictions as violations of human dignity, arguing that authentic love can only exist when it is freely chosen. Yet for others, love remains inseparable from tradition, bound to religious teachings and cultural values that frame marriage as not only a personal bond, but also a moral duty. Within this view, boundaries are necessary to preserve sacred order and protect society from what is perceived as moral decline. Psychologists note that these opposing perspectives are rooted in different understandings of identity. One prioritizes self-expression and individual autonomy, while the other prioritizes continuity and collective meaning. The tension plays out in debates over same-sex unions, gender roles, and even reproductive choices, revealing how the clash between freedom and tradition is less about rejecting love itself and more about deciding whose definition of love should guide society. As America enters 2025, the question of whether any love is truly forbidden remains both hopeful and unresolved. On one hand, society has moved closer to universal acceptance, with legal recognition of interracial and same-sex marriages and growing awareness of diverse forms of identity and partnership. On the other hand, cultural and religious boundaries still exist, reminding us that the line between acceptance and exclusion is never fixed but constantly debated. Perhaps the deeper truth is that love itself will always test society's limits, forcing each generation to decide whether to guard tradition or expand freedom. What was once unthinkable can become ordinary, and what is ordinary today may still face resistance tomorrow. The story of love, then, is less about fixed rules and more about humanity's ongoing struggle to balance the sacred, the personal, and the social. Thank you for watching this video and reflecting on such an important question. If you found this perspective meaningful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more thoughtful explorations on life, love, and belief. Your support helps keep these conversations alive.